Good day, folks. I'm very excited to have Jacquie Myburgh with us today. Jacquie is somebody that I've worked with over the last 5 or 6 years, and she's been incredible to work with. She's such a knowledgeable person and somebody that's so easy to get along with, and she brings the best out in everybody. So we're very fortunate to have her. She's been a magazine editor for Wanted Magazine, Elle, Style, VC, Food and Home. Yeah, and so basically, Jacquie, you've been in the decor and fashion and that side of the magazine world for quite a while. Could you just tell us a little bit about how you got to become an editor and what it's like and the pressures that you're under in that magazine world?
Hi, Malcolm, and thanks for having me. It's lovely to be part of your collaborating group. Malcolm, I studied journalism at university, and in the 80s wanted to go into news journalism for obvious reasons. But in the 90s, soon after the elections, I went into magazines, and I just followed a regular path as started at the Associated Magazines, working at Feminine Magazine, and eventually ended up at Caxton, where my first editor position was at Food and Home. Food and Home Entertaining, and then at one stage I edited Food and Home and Style together, and then went on to Elle and VC and eventually Wanted, Business Day Wanted. And yeah, I think it was not accidental, but I mean, I didn't have dreams to be an editor, but I enjoyed working with people. I like collaborating, and I've had fantastic opportunities in the magazine world.
Been quite a tough industry, the magazine world. I know for a lot of us, I think a lot of magazines we've lost over the years, and things. I don't know if it's just a shift or whether the print side of it is going to be declining. How have you found that over the years with the changes?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, all industries evolve and change, but I think in the media world we're all so engaged in the media world all the time, so it's very apparent to everyone how the media world has changed over the years, where I started in newspapers still typing on a black screen, on a black computer screen, so that tells you how long I've been in the business. But the nothing has been as big a game changer, obviously, as digital publishing and the internet. And the minute that hit, it definitely does mean that publishing will never be the same again, and print has had to evolve and change similarly. I think that conversation of is print dead has become is not really a necessary conversation anymore. Print is just different, and it fulfills different needs. But there is no doubt, more so now than ever before, that digital communication is the name of the game. So it has changed the way journalists and photographers, everyone who's in this business, has had to work.
And I don't know, as a journalist and a writer, it must be quite difficult now because people don't seem to read as much. So I don't know if you have to condense your articles more or think differently about the way you're communicating with people.
Absolutely. I mean, we've become browsers and scrollers and soundbite consumers. So the long form journalism, there's still an appetite for it. There's still a place for it, but it's by no means the go-to place for readers and for consumers. So that has changed. You see it in the way media is presented, and I think we all see it in our own habits of how we consume. I mean, I myself get frustrated when I spend too much time just eating little morsels of information, and I crave a good solid meal of in-depth information. Have to remind myself to go and find it again.
Myself, I've actually got really bad at it. I'm sort of one who skims. I read an article, and if it's too long, then I have to go back and say, no, you must finish the article.
Force yourself to do it. Yeah, it's a discipline. I think what's been the most interesting, Malcolm, in the recent years is the growth of the image as being king in terms of information. That, yeah, I mean, as a writer, you realize that that the times have changed, but that it's all about images. It really is, and I'm sure for a photographer, it's an interesting thing because it's about images, but who's producing those images, who's taking them. But that if a story doesn't have strong imagery, if a product doesn't have strong imagery, it doesn't happen. I know I did a stint years ago when I was still in news in television. And I mean, what you always, the buzz phrase in television is, if there are no pictures, there's no story, because you can't tell a picture on television without pictures, tell a story on television without pictures. And I think it's become the same now, whether you are trying to sell something or communicate something. If you don't have a strong image, it doesn't happen.
Looking a lot in the fashion world, that's almost become a way of communicating as well, with the types of fashion that's coming out and the way people do, and yourself being in fashion, and that it must be terribly difficult for somebody who's starting out in fashion or interior design or decor or whatever, to know where to go and what direction, because for me, I find it confusing as a photographer, just knowing what are the latest trends and what's happening, because it just, how have you dealt with that over the years in the fashion industry?
Yeah, but it's been a complete shift. I mean, if you think that there was a time when you had seasonal fashion shows and very trackable rhythm of fashion and a rhythm of trends, and you knew that decor followed after fashion and food would be in the background kind of doing its own thing, but there was a very manageable rhythm. And in the last few years, that rhythm has been completely disrupted, and that kind of mentality of disruption has, as it's taken over so many industries, has not left fashion or trend unscathed, or not unscathed. I think the important thing is not to see any of it as a negative. It is just the evolution of appetites, and of whether it's a push or a pull, it is people wanting things differently and doing things differently. And so that attitude of disruption and changing things is, while people are creating on the one hand, there's also another whole army of people who are looking for the opportunities to be noticed, to make people see you, to see you differently, to be in the forefront, because we, as consumers or as brands, everyone is trying to fight for airtime, for space, for eye time. And if you don't do something that's going to get you noticed, you're going to disappear. So it's become, seasons have become irrelevant, geography's become irrelevant, timing's become irrelevant. There's always somebody waking up in the morning and getting dressed somewhere on the internet. So it's become fastest fingers first business almost, to see who gets the new message out there. And trends are completely unpredictable. I think it's fascinating watching someone like Lee Edelkoort, who's one of the trend forecasters, trying to kind of make sense of it all. And I think it must be a complete nightmare, because to try and tell a big brand what people are going to be wearing or buying in 12 or 24 months time is impossible.
As an editor in a fashion magazine, if somebody's brought out a new design or a new fashion range or something, how do they get to somebody like you to make you want to show that in the mag? I mean, what do they need to do?
I think these days, I mean, I've always been blessed to work with fantastic fashion editors and fashion directors who have their finger on the pulse. And I think that has always been the requirement of anyone wanting to be in media, is to be absolutely connected and aware of what's going on. So you are, as a fashion journalist, whether you're a stylist or an editor, you are in touch and in contact. You know what's going on out there, and people know you're the go-to person. And right now it would be an Instagram direct message, a DM on Instagram saying, look what I'm doing, can I come and show you, or will you come to my show? It's to try and you do have to break through a lot of noise, because there's a lot of people vying for attention.
Yeah, that is actually, in doing what I've been doing with this Let's Collaborate and or what I'm doing now, it's very difficult to find your market and see who you're talking to and the right people. Jacquie,
Yeah.
break away a little bit from the magazine world, and I came, I was just reading up, and you've got a lovely business that you're working with, and I'd like you just to tell us a little bit about it. It's your Vintage with Love charity that you're doing. I was really quite inspired, just try and get people to help out other people. And I just think it's the way the world's going, and we need to do that. Could you tell us a little bit about that charity?
Thanks, Malcolm. Yeah, Vintage with Love started, believe it or not, 7 or 8 years ago. A friend, Lee Ord, and I got together and were wanting to do something for charity, and also do something with our love for a mutual love for fashion and with the clothes we no longer needed, and that we realized our clothes weren't really jumble, and surely there was a way of doing something with them to raise money for charities. Lee's a former school teacher, and we felt that literacy was an area that really needed support. So we started having annual sales, first in Johannesburg, and then it became 1 year Joburg, 1 year Cape Town, because it's quite a monster to organize. So it was nice to do it alternate years, and also to collect all the clothes. And we really literally just collect clothes, and it's not a jumble sale. It's what we call it, a sale of gently worn fashion. So it's really nice clothes that women, and we now have a men's section, we have a children's section, we now have tons and tons of clothes. We probably have about 100,000 garments at most sales. And we have an annual sale. It's over a long weekend, 3 or 4 days, and we set up just a really beautiful, elegant pop-up shop with lots of champagne and eats, and it's beautifully styled, and it's a lovely experience. It's been a great success. We are so lucky. People have really come to support it. It's a case of people clearing out their wardrobes, taking those clothes that aren't jumble and getting them to us, and we then put it all together in a pop-up shop and sell the clothes, and the money all goes to really, really well organized, well-run professional literacy organizations that we know well. We've worked with them now for 8 years, so we know where the money goes to. But sadly, we're in a bit of a pickle this year. The sale in Johannesburg was due to be taking place at the end of May, and it doesn't look like we'll be able to do it because we're all pretty sure there won't be any big events allowed for quite a while because of COVID-19. So we are actually looking at other options right now.
There must be online. There are just so many things one can do and ways of doing it that I think that's how people are going to shop going forward and doing it. And actually talking about shopping, you've also got your Makery brand, that lovely jewelry brand that you have, and you've got other stuff on that. And I think the collaboration for me is such an important thing. And I just love that article that you or the Facebook post that you put out, that you're helping people to use your space and your knowledge that you've got in the online space to put their products there as well.
Well, it was just something my business partner Heidi Gresti and I came up with. We've been, obviously the business has been paralyzed for the last month, unable to trade at all, but thinking about our business, where what's going to be the future, and also thinking, as so many people are, what can we do? I mean, we know this virus is changing all of our lives fundamentally, and we're all being constantly challenged to help, to make a difference, making donations. People are cooking, people are collecting. There's a lot of, I mean, I'm amazed every day at what I read about the things people are doing to make a difference. And Heidi and I just came up with this idea the one thing the Makery has managed to get right over the last few years is an e-commerce website. And why I say get right, it's because it's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, I think it's very easy when you've got a brand of any kind to say, oh, let's start a website, and then, oh, let's start an e-commerce website. We've been through a lot of the teething problems, and it's not an easy thing. It still continues to challenge us every day, and we have questions, and we have a fantastic guy, Gustav Penny, who runs our website for us on the technical side, and it's a going concern now. I mean, we're constantly changing and trying to improve it, and we thought, well, hey, that's there we are, hundreds of small businesses like us sitting unable to trade, and we hope that online shopping is going to be one of the first forms of business that's going to be allowed to reopen. And we thought, why not use that platform? I mean, the one thing I've sort of learned to do is how to load stuff onto the website. It's not rocket science. And that if we can help like-minded brands, obviously we're going to go through an editing process. They're going to be brands that are similar or complementary to the Makery. And so we've put the invitation out there on social media. We've said if anyone wants to sit in our shop rent-free for 3 months, we're offering people the platform to come and be in the Makery shop, the Makery online shop. And we've had an unbelievable response. I mean, it has been phenomenal. And just with 3 posts, people are so keen to try it out. So, I mean, who knows where where it will go. And I mean, it could turn into a fantastic new business opportunity for us. But right now, to us, it's a lovely feeling of collaboration. We feel it's something that we can do to support small businesses like us. And I think if we all just optimistic and bullish about this, it's I mean, well, the one thing I said in my one post, birthdays and special occasions and anniversaries aren't going to go away. That hopefully people will still want to send out birthday prezzies, and we can offer people more than just jewelry now.
I mean, I personally think that if we get this right and we start collaborating like what you're doing, and I think you're ahead of the curve for a lot of people because you've already set up the online your online site. You're able to market in that particular area, and I think you're maybe ahead a lot of us, and I think that is the way forward. So yeah, I mean, I tried the online business with my frames. And it really wasn't easy, and I came a bit unstuck in that one. But I think the idea of collaborating and working together is the way forward. And Daryl Clayton, who I chatted to earlier, was telling us how that if you just take a small bit of the pie, rather have that than the whole pie, and you'll do well out of it, and you can grow. So I think that's the way of business going forward. Share those sentiments or.
It's always worked for us. I mean, the one thing about the Makery is it started in the school car park. My partner Heidi and I have children at the same school, and we hatched the plan. She owned a bead shop, and we started working together. And it started with our school community, where the jewelry we made and then bought in and started selling, our friends and other parents at the school started buying, and then we went to markets, and so it grew. It really grew out of a supportive circle. And I think that's always been a bit about a really strong part of the Makery's brand and who we are, that we try and really keep in touch with people on social media and speak to every person who contacts us as if they're just one of the moms in the car park, because it's that sense of community and helping people. If an earring's broken, that you can aim to sell 1 million earrings, but as long as you are still talking to that one woman who's lost her single earring as if she's one of the most important people, I think that we found that's a really strong part of what people like about the brand, that they feel like they can talk to us.
I think you're absolutely right there, and I think it's so important that we actually understand what you said there, that we keep communicating with our people. And I think there's actually going to be a shift where the marketing and the way we do things is going to move, as you said, in that direction, where we're communicating more closely with our customer. And being able to not just put a big ad out or something and hope people will buy into that. I think the network marketing thing is going to become a far stronger means of doing business.
Yeah, I mean, it's if I think about how the world has changed. I mean, we have launched and marketed this brand from the start just on social media. I mean, we've paid for Facebook advertising, but it is the opportunities that one has with social media for people like us who grew up in the old days of media, where you had to buy an ad in a magazine or a billboard or on radio. It just is. It's a completely different world, and the opportunities there are zero barriers to entry. If you've got a phone with a decent camera and half a talent to take images, and that's the scary thing for professional photographers, is that image, the lay of the land with images has just changed completely.
A scary thing, and I've always whinged about it a lot, and I've thought, everybody now calls themselves a photographer. And I've thought about it recently, and I think there's certain areas of photography where you need to be specialized. I've done jewelry photography with you for years.
Exactly.
Doubt somebody's going to walk in with a camera and a cell phone and start taking Rolexes next.
Cannot.
Watch. So I think those of us who do that will survive, and we've got to become more specialized at what we do, and we've got to become good at what we do. And I don't think the way things are changing means that it's just going to be easy for everybody. I still think you're going to have to work hard, and you've got to be really good at what you do, but it's going to be done differently, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is where the change is. Jacquie, it's absolutely wonderful to have you on. And just in closing, if you've got a message to all those young designers, young aspirant people who wanting to get out and do like you've done, started your business get going. And that, what just in a short little sentence, what advice could you give them?
I think it's something I've always told anyone who I've hired or want to do work with is, and now more than ever, I think similar to what Ross was saying in the interview that I was watching earlier, is you've got to, we live in a world where you cannot be too much of a specialist in one area when you are offering your services to someone, when you're wanting to work in an area. That if you are pitching for business, or if you are pitching for advertising, they just simply, the worst thing I could ever have was if a colleague said to me, "Oh, I don't do that." Like, I'm the art director, I don't design pamphlets, or I'm a journalist, I don't style advertorials, or something like that. It's just, you've got to, we live in a world where you've got to be prepared, you've got to be nimble, you've got to be agile, you've got to be flexible, and you've got to be enthusiastic, that every opportunity could go anywhere. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about this world and this time, is that you never know where it's going to take you. But also, just in terms of your relationship with people, if I deal with someone who kind of puts up barriers and says, "I don't do that," that's just, it's not going to take you anywhere. I think you've really got to be prepared to go the extra mile, whether it's for a customer or for a client or for a colleague. It can only pay off great dividends at the end of the day.
Thanks, Jacquie. Yeah, that's such good advice to all of you out there. And I really thank Jacquie for giving us her time and her advice. And in closing, just to say, change is opportunity. And as Jacquie has said, and many of the people I've spoken to, is that if you're prepared to take on that change and that challenge, you are going to do well. It's not going to be easy, but there are a lot of opportunities. And so we've got no excuses. Let's go out there and let's make it happen. Jacquie, thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Malcolm. Good luck.
Cheers.